I'm Neil. My flying journey started when I was a boy. I just was the boy that used to run out through the laundry every time I'd hear a plane go over the house. Then I went to the gliding club. I remember the CFI said to me, he said, look, I really enjoy your passion. It's great to see you here and we're happy to take your money for a few circuits, but you can't start your training. But if you look over there, I'm pretty sure I've asked the guys, you can start at 12. There was no way to get into general aviation unless you had a rich parents and you could afford even what was then a significant cost. There was no ultralight flying. We were flying around old fabric things that would be lucky, 2-stroke motors that would stop every second flight, and they would be flat out to do 40 knots half the times. And then you looked at even the early Jabirus and you thought, that's a serious aeroplane. It's composite, it can do this. And it was just like a no-brainer. If you wanted to move to a real aeroplane and you couldn't afford a Cessna or something like that, then the Jabiru was the way to go. And of course, I never really popped that until years later when, I was still heavily involved in trikes and my mate bought a new trike and it was like, it cost you $63,000. I could buy a brand new Jabiru for that. To me, the penny dropped. One, it was affordable. And the second thing was, I looked at the owner, Rod, and I went, he could fly any of the planes. And I'd turn up at these fly-ins and I'd see big, tall Rod Stiff get out of a 120. I'm going, and I actually asked him one day, I said, why? He said, well, it's the plane I love the most. He said, it's my baby. It's sort of like where we came from with the LSA 55. And you know what, if the owner of the very designer of this aircraft, if he flies around in a 120, that's good enough for me. And it was a good choice because it just did everything well. It was the pedigree that was built out of 20 years of design, development, enhancement, improvement. I'd been up and seen it during the build, so I'd watched my plane growing from the factory where the hull was formed and the fit out and everything, right down to the stickers. And the day I turned up, it was like, I'm looking in the back door and I'm looking to see if I can see where my plane is. And it's like, oh, it'll be ready, we'll bring it out in a moment. We've just got to wash it and all this stuff. And I'm going, I don't care about washing it, I want to see my plane. And this was the first 3-axis aeroplane I'd actually owned. Mum was very supportive. It wasn't until years later I got the chance to take Mum flying. She loved the Glasshouse Mountains. That's where I was living. And I said, well, would you like to, I'm going to go flying. Flying was just about every other day. And I said, Mum, I want you to come flying. Oh, I don't want to come. Mum was a small, frail lady, but, she had a cheeky side to her. And so I convinced her to come down and she loved the plane. It was sort of like her, small, diminutive, but back to punch when it needed to, right? And I put her in that plane and we went flying and she was just, I flew her over the house and around the Glasshouse Mountains and just to see the look on her face. And of course I was instructing well and truly by then and I let her have the control. Oh no, I don't want to fly. But I gave her the controls and I showed her how easy it was. And it was another pinch me moment to think, here's my mum who watched me, this little kid, running outside that house every day, riding off to the airfield on his push bike. And now I am flying her and now giving her the controls and letting her fly. It was a really special moment. It's probably the one I remember the most. Mum passed just on 2 years ago and we had that photo and she had it in her photos and it was always in pride of place. And every time I'd go down to see her in the nursing home and stuff like that, and her memory was going, but she always remembered that flight. And I guess, we'll always, her and that'll always have a special place for us. The more I fly, and after, almost a career of flying, the privilege is really sharing it. And when you share it with special people, it's exponential. Aeroplanes enable people. They enable us to really just follow your dreams, do things that, half people would never get the opportunity to do. I think for the Jabiru, it was like, especially when I took Mum flying, it was like, you know what? I trust this plane so much, I wouldn't put the person I love most in my life in this aeroplane unless I felt completely comfortable with it. I think the accessibility, the affordability, the product, the safety, and the fact that it will take you places that you've never believed. Every time I fly, I always think of Mum. I'm thankful that Mum and Dad said, yeah, you can fly. If that's what you want to do, you go and do it. And that's the message I impress to my students and to anybody who wants to fly. If you want to do it, find the way. Today, through Recreational Aviation Australia and the pathways, you can walk in there as a 12-year-old kid with your mum and dad, sign up and go and do a trial flight, and you can be flying.